Anyone But You is nominated for Outstanding Film at the GLAAD Media Awards this year.
Welcome to Feminist Frequency Radio. This is the show that asks you to be critical of the media you love. I'm Kat Spada, and today, oh my God, he's back again.
He's right behind me, isn't he? Okay, continue.
AC Lamberty is returning to the podcast as my co-host for the brand new season.
Let's go. Happy to be back, Kat.
Yeah. So happy to have you back. I loved doing Machos Fully Loaded last year as our very indulgent deep dive into gender on screen as portrayed by hunks.
Indulgent is that's the energy we're bringing to this new venture, I think.
I think that, like, thinking about feminist media criticism, I'm always like, that's like the perspective we're going to bring to just every discussion. And sometimes that means, oh, good, they just had the first creative meeting about the Fast and Furious franchise finale.
Being a hater can be fun.
Look, does Feminist Frequency have a tradition of occasionally being hater-aid drinking? Sure. But I have so much fun doing this show, and we're kicking off a new season. We're going to do, it's not going to be themed like Machos. It's going to be traditional episodes. We might have some retro movies. We might have some new movies to talk about, TV shows, etc. We're going to be reading some books this season.
Let's go.
Strap on your reading light for that.
I actually, boo, that one is not standing for me.
That one's non-canonical. And yeah.
I'm happy to be here.
Shortly.
I can't wait. I will say I feel like people should anticipate discussing the new Roadhouse.
Absolutely. And we might have to bring Anita in for that episode because we did an episode about the original Roadhouse.
Let's do it.
With her. So if you're listening to this, Feminist Frequency Radio listeners, you could be brand new to the show. That would be exciting, perhaps surprising. You could be someone who's been listening for a while through its various cast and crew of hosts over the years. So I just wanted to give like an update explainer in case you're here or you're like, I've been following Feminist Frequency on social, but I'm not entirely sure like where the ground is under my feet. AC and I did do a bonus episode last month, which just went out to our Patreon supporters. And in that one, we talked about the Oscar nominations. We'll definitely be talking about the conclusion of award season later this spring. As you may know, the organization Feminist Frequency, the nonprofit, has had its sunset after 15 years. So another thing that happened this year in 2024 is we put together the final annual report, Lifetime Impact Report. I encourage you to check that out. It's linked in the show notes. It's linked in all the Feminist Frequency socials and on the website. It's a really great place to see what the legacy of the organization and its work with the community has been for the past decade and a half. But some of you might be like, well, if Feminist Frequency is closed, what is Feminist Frequency Radio still doing on? We did cover this over the summer. We were kind of teasing what was going to happen, which is that Anita has granted me her blessing to continue the mantle of being critical of the media you love with the Feminist Frequency Radio podcast, which will continue independently from here on out. So please go to the Feminist Frequency website where you can find like decade and a half worth of resources, video series, past podcasts, discussion of games, discussion of Star Trek, discussion of Halt and Catch Fire. You can also go to the Games Hotline website, gameshotline.org, which has been one of the landmark projects of Feminist Frequency to offer support to gamers and people in the gaming community, which also has a ton of resources on the website that are there for you indefinitely. And also you should follow Games Hotline on social media because they have some ongoing work that you can check out and hear more from their boss isn't appropriate, and I couldn't think of a better one. But Jay Lynn, who has been running the Games Hotline, has also got some stuff coming up. So on that, new episodes of this podcast will be coming after Feminist Frequency's official closing event, which we are having this March. And we are going to come at you with a season premiere. We're going to come at you with some information about new stuff. Like we talked about, we're going to do some reading. Maybe we'll have a little book club going on. I think we should start a Letterboxd just for the pod.
100%.
And share ribald opinions in text on Letterboxd.
I am so into that.
And yeah, if you're a Patreon supporter, or if you're on social, you can get on the Discord. You can message me on Twitter or message FemFreak or wherever, and we can talk about what else you might want to see coming from the podcast. But AC and I we're starting the year off strong. We just figured for this sort of preview episode, we would we were like, we should talk about something we watched. Luckily, we had one of the best nights of my life when we saw, like, in its 9th week of release.
I know. I was like, I've been wanting to see this movie since December, and it somehow has just evaded me. I don't know.
The Will Gluck masterpiece. Anyone
who
but you.
Who is that?
I went, Will Gluck's production company is at Sony. When I used to work at Columbia Pictures, I went to like an on-the-lot screening of... It wasn't Easy A. It was like the next one after that.
Yeah.
With, I want to say like Mila Kunis or something along those lines.
Is it one of the No Strings Attached?
One of those.
No, it's not one of those.
It was the one with Justin Timberlake.
Oh, that's a Will Gluck joint?
I think so. I think
My
so.
goodness.
Don't worry, I have Wikipedia open. We are film scholars here.
Man, this fucking movie. I'll come clean to the audience. I am someone who has seen this movie twice since I saw it with you, and then I saw it once more, and it remains confounding to me.
What kind
genuinely.
of rundown theater did you make it to see this movie in this weekend?
Listen, it was the Valentine's Day encore. Did I not tell you this?
I mean... You could have a worse Valentine's Day movie.
I'll spoil the encore as we go on because I was pissed. I'll say.
Oh my God.
The encore is not worth it. But shall we get into it, Kat? What did you think about the 2023 Will Gluck film, Anyone But You?
Look, I didn't go to the effort of writing a synopsis, like a plot synopsis or a description for this recording because I will just quote loosely based on Much Ado About Nothing and about as loose as it gets. This movie was incredible because it truly kept me guessing. Like,
yes,
I think that is what was so shocking about it. It really, even though it's okay, it's been years since I've read Much Ado About Nothing. I don't necessarily remember the twists and turns, but I got the gist, right? And the fact that like every new scene, I was like, we're reestablishing a brand new movie. Here we are.
And it's a toothpaste commercial, and it's porn, and it's subversive outsider art, and it's the biggest rom-com we've had. Like, it's crazy.
I really want you to talk more about it being subversive outsider art, because you and I both had that strong feeling coming out of the theater where I was like, yes, is he trying something here? Like, was this actually deeper than I thought? Because I continually was like, this is a commentary on how humans behave.
It is it's so sexual, which is why I'm like, It's out. Like, this is, John Waters would have loved this movie. I don't know if he's seen it, but like, if
he were alive today.
John Waters, if you're listening. It just skirts this line between like actually sexist 2003 mainstream comedy and like edgy sex comedy to me. Like, I was thinking it really is kind of the first big studio film that has had a significant sex scene in like a really long time. Like, obviously there's like Passages in May, December and stuff last year, but thinking like rom-com scale, I was like shocked at how explicit this movie is. And I loved that, honestly. Like, it was fun, but yeah, pretty jarring.
There is so much sexualizing in this movie, which also like I kept in the moments where I was like, this is a bad movie. Were the moments when I was like, this could be a Hallmark movie. Like, this could be a low budget, really fast turnaround production development schedule. But because it's so lush and like high budget and beautiful looking, I'm more entertained. I'm more along for the ride. But in those scenes where I was like, oh boy, this is really regressive in like how we're talking about ogling women in bikinis or whatever, I also was just like, what is the purpose of this? Like,
totally.
You know, does it have anything to do with the characters? Like, that's the thing. Okay,
literally, no. Like, you saying that, it's like, no, not at all.
Right? Because the whole thing is like, it is a misunderstanding where basically the guy's like, she's a bitch, and the girl's like, and he's a fuckboy player or something, even though like...
And they do this kind of back and forth where they like try to own each other, and it's like, you're both so boring and also white. Like, one of the whitest movies of all time.
I wouldn't feel like it was the whitest movie of all time if it didn't have such like, look how good we are at having black friends.
Exactly. Yes.
In it.
Okay. For those who haven't seen it, it revolves around a lesbian wedding, which I also think is hilarious. Like,
yeah.
It's a movie that is so straight that it is gay, and it's so gay it's straight. Like, truly, it's...
Yeah.
They really go for it.
It is a Todd Haynes movie. Like, I kept thinking, I'm having the same kind of uncomfortable laughter in the theater as I was with May December.
Yeah, actually, that's like very apt, I feel.
Where I kept being like, oh my God, are we allowed to laugh at this? But the thing is, in May December, I was asking that about like the discomfort you're feeling with this relationship that was abusive. And in this movie, I'm thinking that about literally seeing a urethral meatus on the end of a penis. I still am like, I can't believe how explicit
that's true
moment. Like like, why was this not X or like NC-17?
Yeah, full on foreskin in this movie, which is crazy.
There is.
And that guy is hilarious. Like, I will say, for as big of a hater as I am, I genuinely did think a lot of the side characters were fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, the Australian swimmer guy, the old man and his son, I thought they were hilarious.
But it was like the two Aussies, the like extra hot couple that had to be involved. Because there has to be like a love triangle and our other main characters are lesbians or like someone's sister, was like also the woman, the first time we see her, she's like topless on the beach, which is normal in Australia, but it was very much like so that Glenn Powell could be like, I can't believe I'm seeing some nipples. Like,
boy-oing, yeah.
Like, whoa.
Yeah, it's such a weird... The tone is just so bizarre, truly so bizarre. It's progressive and regressive in many ways.
I think we need to talk about Kevin. We need to talk about like the star quality in this movie.
I mean, like it or not, Glenn Powell has it. Like, he's so... I'm obsessed with him, unfortunately.
I was on the fence, and then I was like, watching this, I was like, he is a movie star.
God
like,
damn it. He really is.
He can make this work. He can make acting opposite Sydney Sweeney this whole time work. And she seems fine. Like, I bet I could see something we'll see next week when we go to Madame Web. But,
Madame Web.
Madame. But it felt like they gave her lines right before every take.
I saw this review from a critic I like on Letterboxd, I forget the name, but he was like, it's crazy how she can be completely wooden in one scene and then like really charming and kind of effervescent in the next. I completely agree. Like, there are moments where I was like, I get it. She's that girl. And then there are moments where I was like, you are reading from a cue card. Like, there's a moment where she goes into the bathroom, is like looking in the mirror, and she goes like, like she's supposed to be like crying at her own appearance or something. I was laughing out loud reading your note that says, the movie spans 2 years? Because when that happened, dear listener, I cannot stress enough, Kat and I both were like, what the fuck? And like turned to each other and we're in shock.
I almost walked out like 89 minutes into this movie when they reveal that it's been going on for 2 years. I could not handle it.
I truly thought it was like a week and a half max.
The thing this is what's like so straight about this movie also is like they have a meet cute in a coffee shop. They hang out that night. They don't hook
He makes
up.
her a grilled cheese with about half a cup of butter.
But also they share one grilled cheese sandwich. Look, I'm a hungry person. If you're going to make me a grilled cheese sandwich, I need both halves of that. Thank you.
He is so that. Like, Glenn is so counting my calories.
Oh, yeah. Should we be bad? Should we be bad and split a grilled cheese sandwich with real butter? And then they have this miscommunication. I don't think they even kiss. They like fall asleep. Then they have this miscommunication. 2 years later, I guess, they're like, "Ugh, aren't you such like a pain in the butt?"
But they meet again at the bar when the friend is introducing the girlfriend as if they had never met before. And so it's like, did you guys just see each other? Like, is that the next? Truly, it doesn't matter. Like, whatever. But at the end, that it's like, wow, it really is crazy. We've been harboring these resentments for 2 years. They like might as well look right into the camera and say, like, it's been 2 years.
Oh my God. I do think it's crucial to like everyone in this movie is so conventionally knockout gorgeous.
Yes.
The parents.
I was going to say down to the parents. They're all so hot, or like famous for having been hot, you know?
Yeah. Like Michelle Hurd shows up and she is like, hasn't missed a day at the gym in her entire life. Like everyone is just beautiful. But there's something also about that made it like so wild to watch where like there's this moment when they're going on this boat ride. And Sydney Sweeney shows up and Glenn Powell gives her the like awooga eyes because she's in a dress. And he's like, wow, like you actually clean up nice for being such a bitch. And the thing is, I'm like, okay, but she has looked this good in every shot.
She's the hottest woman alive. Like, it's like, crazy.
Everyone looks so perfect, but then there's supposed to be like whenever it's subverted, it's like this is the thing that I feel like is very 2023 is like, oh, but we can talk about straight men's buttholes now.
Yes, it's like it's a leveling of the playing field that like still doesn't quite work, or is like mostly just like who cares? Like you're right, like what you said earlier. It's like none of this is specific to any character. None of it's specific to Australia or getting married or like any of it. Truly,
like, did you see No Hard Feelings last year?
Yes, yeah, which I really enjoyed.
I did too. I think they did like a slightly better job, but the same thing of like, here's a hot woman in a nude scene that is funny and violent, but it's not really sexual. But like in that way, we're subverting what it would have been in the 80s. And
I did think you're right. I think they pulled that off better.
Whereas here it was like, here's a nude man and it's funny because he's worried there's a spider in his butt.
Because his dick's out? Like, I don't know. Listen, I laughed. Got my ass. But more it's because I was like so into Glenn Powell than anything, you know.
I was into what was happening concurrently. It was intercut with a magic wise koala.
Yeah, and I love that
to his friend. Who's a rapper?
I have no idea, but I was very charmed by him.
Yeah, he did like he was also I know what my job is today.
Yes.
Him and Glenn Powell, I know what my job is today. Like
yes.
Everyone else, I feel like they thought they were on the set of a new movie every time, but
completely. Oh man, this accolades. So let's talk about some of the awards that Anyone But You is nominated for as we get into award season this year.
I don't know why this was so funny to me.
It's hilarious. First, People's Choice Awards. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Sydney, Sweeney, and Glenn, we're on a first name basis at this point.
Unfortunately, always a bridesmaid, never a bride with the People's Choice Awards.
Wait, for Top Gun too?
Oh, no, I just mean this movie.
Oh, I also feel like he has certainly been to the PCAs. Anyway, he and Sydney are nominated for Comedy Movie Star of the Year. It's nominated for Best Comedy Movie. And also... Anyone But You is nominated for Outstanding Film at the GLAAD Media Awards this year.
I don't know why this, like,
My
the fact
God.
that it says pending, which just means, like, the awards haven't happened. I was just like, yeah, this is under review. Someone at GLAAD was like, can we discuss whether or not this meets the criteria?
Our nomination procedure. Yes. Now I'm like, I have to find a way to get to the GLAAD Awards because if Glenn Powell is going to be there, do you think he would go?
Okay, Glenn Powell.
I could talk about his brand of stardom forever. Like, he is a Tom Cruise to me.
I think I said this movie's romantic moments are inspired by the movie Titanic and Tom Cruise's whole thing. If
Glenn Powell wants to be Jerry Maguire, like, so bad.
First of all, a Jerry Maguire Showtime series starring Glenn Powell.
Wait.
Make that happen.
Hit our line. Let's go.
Glenn Powell would never bury Keoghan. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Can we get into that after, by the way?
But let's come back to that.
Yes.
But Glenn Powell accepting the GLAAD Media Award on behalf of this movie, everyone would be
cry.
like, and being like, Sydney Sweeney couldn't be here tonight. I just think he would bring the energy that Simu Liu brought to hosting the People's Choice Awards.
1,000,000%. He's so
happy to be there.
Yes. And he's so well media trained. And I really think he could heal America. He's a hot white guy. The Twister remake, I think, is going to be absolutely gigantic for him. Like, it's going to be huge. He is he's from Texas, but he's not super conservative, but we don't really know what his political affiliation is, but he is nominated for a GLAAD Award. He's everything.
Glenn Powell has big Taylor Swift energy.
Yes.
In that, if
blonde and a lot of teeth.
A lot. More teeth than is... It's unsettling how many teeth he has. But if Glenn Powell, were to make a political statement, I think it would carry a lot of weight for people.
I really see him with his friends who are guys being like, no, but listen, guys, treating women is really important. Treating women well is really important.
Yeah.
Actually. And I learned that on the set of Anyone But You.
So Glenn Powell, now Justin Hartley is the reigning champ of this,
wow.
I think, for network television. But if Glenn Powell were on a show, he'd have to do a PSA at the end before the credits of domestic abuse is a real issue. If you were someone you know, can't you see Glenn Powell doing that?
Absolutely. Okay, well, as someone who saw the Valentine's Day encore version of Anyone But You, they, of course, had a thing where it was him and Sydney Sweeney standing in front of a blue backdrop, and we're like, thank you so much for coming to see our movie. We love you so much. He was really insane, but he's perfect at it. And is so, I was like, I trust him. Sydney Sweeney, on the other hand, was wooden as hell. It was wild.
She is enigmatic. Okay, so let's talk about the queering of straight men.
Something I'm very well versed in.
It's not gone without notice, right? The parlance with which we talk about Timothée Chalamet, you know, but in that scene from the other two where Carrie Dubek, a gay man, that character is gay, but he's being made more flamboyant for the red carpet and stuff like that. I have to imagine there's the moment where, and look, I haven't seen Saltburn at this point. Will I see Saltburn? Emerald Fennell is directing a photo shoot and is like, Barry, are you down for this? And he's like, I'm down for anything, baby.
Yeah.
But then does the stylist ever try to put a harness on Glenn Powell?
That's really interesting. It also makes me think about Barry Keoghan working with Emerald Fennell specifically, and if that is only something that is allowed of marginalized filmmakers as a form of kind of cultural currency. Do you know what I mean? Creating the edgy queer image, but then he'll be fine and he can go do another fucking Martin McDonagh movie and they'll be fine. I don't know. There's something about the creator behind the image too that's really interesting, because I don't think a Will Gluck would do this.
Right. And I also think that the gender transgressive fashion statement on a red carpet has often been the purview of men of color.
Yeah, totally.
And in this particular awards season, right, like that you have Coleman Domingo, like being able to step into the limelight. And he has for a long time had like really, I'll say I'm saying like non-traditional fashion sense, meaning like no one's shocked if he shows up in a red velvet suit.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying anything like mind-blowing for for fashion, but then you also have your Timothys and your Barry Keoghan's and like everyone else where it's just like, oh, also we're going to like dip your fingers in paint tonight or whatever. And
totally,
you know, you're going to have like a lash.
I'll give you a Suspiria, Luca Guadagnino Suspiria bondage fit. Like, yeah.
But Glenn Powell, I think it's like he would reject it. It would be like two magnets.
Yeah, and I also think it would be so transparent with him. And I do think that's like a body thing, weirdly. Like, he's so alpha male coded, not to use Twitter parlance, but like he works for that body. Like, he's posting about it all the time. Like, I feel like it would be, it's weird. Like, I don't think it would be gender affirming for him, but it's like, it really is interesting to think about like what gender looks like for these cis men and like if they actually think about it.
And at the same time, all of this like doesn't make me think that he would be like no homo about it either. Yeah. I think it would just be that he's like, I can't pull it off. It's not my style. You know, like he would just be very like, I think this suit looks better on me.
We need to get him on the pod.
Glenn, listen to me. Hear my voice.
I'll be saying this to Max like 3 times an episode, like about various people.
I think that the chance that we're going to meet Glenn Powell at an AMC movie theater in Burbank is a non-zero chance.
I totally agree. Emphatic non-zero.
I guess my final note, I look forward to us talking much more about Tom Cruise over the course of this season. I assume he's going to come up. And frankly,
Glenn Powell, Twister, let's fucking go.
Yeah.
Can't wait. And Austin Butler, sorry to insert. But speaking of blonde men we love.
Definitely. I think Tom Cruise is just such a good like litmus test for talking about like men in movies. It's going to come up.
Yeah.
But the final thing I'll say about this actual movie, Anyone But You, is there are several rescue helicopters. And I also wish that we had director and cast commentary on DVDs like we used to. And Glenn saying, well, I called up my good friend Tom and I asked him how best to rappel from a helicopter while delivering a romantic monologue.
Yes.
And here's what he said to me. But
I'll be buying the Blu-ray limited edition Valentine's Encore. Don't worry.
Oh my God. Also, in the queerness of this extremely straight movie, there is a Troye Sivan needle drop that also, it was one of the 8 times I almost walked out of the theater because I was so sure when the movie started and I was like, oh, this takes place in Australia. Oh, there's a gay wedding. I was like, Troye Sivan's going to walk into a scene. He is going to show up. They could have
gotten him. They could have gotten Kylie Minogue, I'm sure. Like, they should have.
They could at least have gotten Danny Minogue.
Then they would have the GLAAD Award in the bag.
Oh, my God.
There'd be no worries.
Troy is going to present the GLAAD Media Award to Glenn Powell.
To my good friend, Glenn Powell. And then he's going to fucking post on TikTok for weeks about how he has a crush on Glenn Powell until something happens.
And then he's going to be like, we redid the I Could Be Like One of Your Girls video and put Glenn Powell and Dragon. Everything we just said will go out the window.
That's amazing. I actually need to see that. If there's a purpose for AI, it could be this. I don't know.
This is the only purpose for AI. This and they're parsing like whale song with AI. And I'm fine with that.
Love that.
You can copyright all the whale song you want. Robots, you go for it. Oh my God. This obviously was just a mini discussion. We will be seeing you in a few weeks with some new episodes. We're going to be talking about a pretty exciting kind of slate of things coming up. I know that next week we are We are seeing both Madam Web and Dune Part 2.
Go.
So I'll let you know which one I prefer.
Fade Rotha, he's psychotic. I'm excited.
He was in the jungle with my mother while she was studying spiders right before she died.
Wow. Do you think Austin Butler will ever... Whatever. That'll be our special segment every episode of the Austin Butler Corner. You guys can tune out if you want.
I will be AI for that segment sometimes. Oh, AC, I'm so glad to have you with me this season, along for the ride. Where can people follow you on the internet?
Yes, you can follow me on Instagram and Letterboxd at AC Lamberty, and that is also my website where I have my other work.
Awesome. I'm Kat Spada. You can find me at cat_EX_machina on Twitter. And please be sure to follow Feminist Frequency at FemFreak on the socials and including Letterboxd. We're going to set that up.
Let's go.
So be sure to follow us there. Thanks, you guys. See you soon.